Sometimes life brings you back to the one person you never truly forgot, and sometimes, the truth they reveal can change everything you thought you knew about love, loyalty, and destiny. This is the breathtaking journey of a single father who returns to his hometown after years of struggle, only to find that his childhood girlfriend kept a promise he didn't even know she'd made. Before we dive in, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to True Kindness Tales so you never miss a story that touches your heart. Ethan Malik had never imagined he would one day return to the small town of Rosewood with a suitcase in one hand and his 5-year-old daughter Liana sleeping on his shoulder, but life had a way of circling back to the places where one's heart first learned how to hope. The bus hissed to a stop near the old market square, and as Ethan stepped down, he felt that familiar tightening in his chest, the mix of nostalgia, regret, and longing that he hadn't allowed himself to feel for years. Rosewood looked the same. The cobblestone lanes, the small flower shops with handwritten signs, the old church whose bell would always ring 10 minutes late. Yet everything felt different now that he returned, not as the carefree boy who once ran through these streets but as a man carrying the weight of responsibility and memories he had tried to bury. Holding Liana's small hand, Ethan walked toward his late grandmother's cottage, planning to stay only a few days while he searched for a job in the city. But as he passed Maple Street, his steps slowed. That street held the house where Maya Reid, his childhood best friend, the girl whose laughter once pulled him out of every dark moment, still lived. They had lost contact long ago, separated by misunderstandings, distance, and Ethan's rushed marriage at 19, a marriage that ended painfully when his ex-wife left him and their daughter. Since then, everything in his life felt like a series of storms he barely managed to survive. But for some reason, as he stood at the curve of Maple Street, the wind whispered a name he had not spoken aloud in years, Maya. Liana tugged his sleeve, pointing at a little bakery decorated with pastel lanterns. "Daddy, cupcakes," she chirped. Ethan smiled, guiding her inside, and that was when his breath caught. Behind the counter, arranging pastries with gentle precision, stood Maya Reid. Her long brown hair was tied in a loose braid, and her soft eyes widened the moment they met his. For an entire heartbeat, time seemed to freeze. Maya stepped forward, her voice trembling as she whispered, "Ethan, you're back." She leaned over the counter to greet Liana warmly, her kindness instant and natural, as though she had known the child forever. Ethan felt a strange ache in his chest, a mix of the past he lost and the future he feared to hope for. They spoke awkwardly at first, exchanging small bits of their lives, but as minutes blended into an hour, the ease they once shared slowly resurfaced. Before he left, Maya hesitated, then invited him and Liana to dinner the next evening. Ethan accepted, though uncertainty twisted inside him. Part of him wondered whether this rekindled connection was a blessing or a doorway to unfinished pain. As he walked back to the cottage with Liana skipping beside him, he couldn't shake the feeling that Rosewood and Maya were calling him back to something he wasn't ready to face, something far deeper than nostalgia. Ethan spent the next day torn between excitement and nervousness as he prepared for dinner at Maya's house, brushing Liana's hair twice and checking his shirt 3 times as though he were 16 again, about to knock on the Reid family porch for summer lemonade. When he and Liana arrived at Maya's home, the familiar smell of jasmine drifted from her garden, instantly stirring memories of long childhood evenings spent laughing under the lanterns she hung with her father. Maya welcomed them with warmth that felt like sunlight after years of cold weather, and her living room, decorated with soft colors, framed drawings, and a shelf full of books, felt unbelievably comforting. Throughout dinner, Maya listened intently to Ethan's stories, not judging his past mistakes, not pitying his struggles, only offering the sort of genuine presence that made a person feel seen. She taught Liana how to fold napkins into little swans, making the girl giggle until she nearly toppled from her chair, and Ethan found himself watching Maya more than he should, noticing the softness of her smile and the steadiness in her voice. After dinner, with Liana asleep on the sofa cuddled in a blanket Maya knitted herself, Ethan and Maya stepped onto the porch where the night breeze carried the soft rustle of leaves. That was when Maya finally spoke in a quiet tone that seemed to carry years of hidden truth. She admitted she had never been in a relationship after Ethan, explaining that she chose to wait, not for a perfect person or a fairy tale romance, but because her heart had never fully healed after they drifted apart. Ethan blinked, stunned, struggling to process her words. Maya's next revelation left him speechless. She had remained a virgin not out of fear or stubbornness, but because she never wanted to share herself with someone she didn't truly love, someone who didn't value commitment, honesty, and trust. "I know it sounds strange," she whispered, staring at her hands, but I always believed my heart had chosen once, and maybe the choice was final. Ethan felt something tighten in his chest, a mixture of guilt and awe, because he had spent years blaming himself for leaving without explanation when life forced him down a road he never planned for. Now he understood how deeply Maya had cared, how much his absence shaped her path. He wanted to speak, to apologize, to confess how much he missed her, but his throat tightened with emotion. Maya's eyes glistened, though she kept a gentle smile. Ethan, she said softly, I'm not telling you this to make things complicated. I just want you to know why I didn't move on. Her honesty felt like a fragile treasure placed into his hands, something he didn't deserve but desperately wished to protect. Ethan stepped closer, lowering his voice. Maya, I never stopped caring. I just didn't think I had the right to come back. She looked up, her expression tender yet steady. Life brings people back when they're meant to return. The porch fell silent, but the silence wasn't uncomfortable, it was full of meaning, a space where emotions finally breathed freely. Ethan realized then that the journey back to Rosewood wasn't just a temporary stop, it was a chance destiny had quietly prepared for him. A chance to rebuild the past he broke. Over the following weeks, Maya became an integral part of Ethan and Liana's daily life, not because she forced her presence into their routine but because her kindness naturally filled the spaces where loneliness had once lived. She walked Liana to the park, teaching her how to braid flowers into bracelets while Ethan searched for work in town, and every evening, they shared simple meals at Maya's home or Ethan's cottage, rediscovering the gentle comfort of companionship. The more time Ethan spent with her, the more he understood that Maya's quiet strength came from years of choosing patience, choosing faith, even when life gave her reasons not to. Meanwhile, Ethan battled feelings of unworthiness, wrestling with the guilt of his failed marriage and the fear that he might hurt her again. But Maya never demanded explanations, she simply offered understanding, giving him space to grow while remaining steady beside him. One rainy afternoon, when Ethan returned early from a job interview that didn't go well, he found Maya sitting with Liana, helping her draw butterflies on colored paper. As he approached, Liana ran into his arms, showing him the drawing proudly. Maya looked up with a smile, but Ethan saw something deeper in her eyes, something that made him sit beside her on the floor. I'm failing, he muttered softly. I can't even get a job in the town I grew up in. Maya touched his hand gently, her voice steady. Ethan, failure isn't falling short. It's giving up. And you haven't given up, not once. Her words pierced the fog of discouragement clouding his mind, and Ethan felt an unexpected warmth bloom in his chest. For the first time in years, he didn't feel alone. Over the weeks, he opened up to her in ways he hadn't opened up to anyone, revealing the pain of the divorce, the anxiety of being a single parent, the nights he stayed awake wondering if he was enough for Liana. Maya listened without judgment, her presence soothing the parts of him he didn't know how to fix. One evening, as they walked by the lake where they once raced each other as children, Maya stopped and turned toward him, her expression thoughtful. Ethan, she whispered, you're trying so hard to be strong for everyone. Let someone be strong for you, too. Ethan felt a knot loosen inside him, the kind that had been tightening for years. Without thinking, he reached for her hand, and Maya didn't pull away. They stood there, fingers intertwined, letting the wind carry away the heaviness of old fears. It wasn't a declaration, it wasn't a confession, it was simply a beginning, quiet, slow, and beautifully genuine. Rosewood felt different now, not because the town had changed, but because Ethan had finally begun to heal. Maya's patience, her unwavering loyalty, and her belief in him created a bridge from the man he used to be to the man he hoped to become. And in the gentle glow of twilight, Ethan realized the truth, Maya wasn't waiting for a perfect man. She was waiting for the honest one he was slowly learning to be. Spring arrived in Rosewood with blossoms filling the streets and sunlight painting the rooftops in warm gold, and with it came a slow but steady change in the rhythm of Ethan's life. He finally got a stable job at a local carpentry workshop, and every day felt a little more hopeful, a little more like the life he once dreamed of but never believed he deserved. Liana grew more attached to Maya, often calling her Auntie Maya, and the way Maya's face lit up every time the little girl hugged her made Ethan's heart ache in the most beautiful way. One evening, after a town festival filled with music and lanterns, Ethan walked Maya home, their steps quiet on the lantern-lit path. Maya held Liana's hand while Ethan carried a basket of leftover sweets, and the moment felt oddly like a small family walking home after a long, joyful day. When they reached her porch, Liana fell asleep in Ethan's arms, so Maya gently brushed the child's hair away from her face. She trusts you completely, Ethan murmured. Maya looked up. She's easy to love, she whispered. So are you. Ethan's heart thudded painfully as he set the basket aside and stepped closer. Maya, can I ask you something? She nodded, eyes glimmering with curiosity. Ethan drew a deep breath, his voice trembling with sincerity. You spent years waiting for the right person, not out of fear, but out of love. I don't want to take that for granted. I don't want your past to be wasted on someone who won't honor it. Maya's expression softened. Ethan, my past wasn't wasted. It shaped me. It taught me what love should feel like. And right now, it feels like this, like trust, like kindness, like a future being built one day at a time. Ethan felt emotion swell in his chest, and he gently took her hands in his. Then let me try, he whispered. Let me build something real with you. Not because of our past, but because of who we are now. Maya exhaled shakily, her eyes shining with unshed tears. I'd like that, she whispered. Under the soft glow of lanterns, Ethan pulled her into a warm embrace, not filled with passion, but with gratitude, tenderness, and the promise of a future healed through kindness. It wasn't the dramatic reunion of two lovers destined by fate, it was something quieter, deeper, more human. Liana stirred sleepily in Ethan's arms and blinked up at Maya. Daddy, is she gonna stay with us forever? Ethan looked at Maya, who laughed softly, wiping her eyes. If she wants to, he said gently. Maya placed a hand on Liana's cheek. Forever is a long time, she whispered, smiling warmly. But I'd love to be part of your world. And just like that, a new chapter of their lives quietly unfolded, one built not on heartbreak or longing, but on trust, healing, and a love that blossomed gently after years of separation. Ethan realized that he hadn't just rediscovered a lost connection, he had found the missing piece of the family he'd been trying so hard to build. Maya wasn't simply someone from his past, she was the future waiting patiently for him to return. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to True Kindness Tales for more emotional and inspiring stories every day.